Hello, welcome to Weather HQ. I'm Paolo del Rosario. This week, we look into Malabon City's PuroKalusugan program, the push for a stronger global plastics treaty, and the NFA's plan to auction 60,000 metric tons of aging rice. Let's go on first to Malabon, where the city has recently launched PuroKalusugan, a program aimed at bringing health services closer to its residents. Here's my conversation with Dr. Bernadette Abordador, the acting city health officer.
PuroKalusugan is actually a collaborative project with the Department of Health on Dr. Herbosa's 8-point priority agenda. It's bringing 8 priority services sa pinakamaliliit na unit where we can bring health services. So, 8 serbisyo yon that includes immunization, maternal and child health, safe motherhood, water, sanitation and hygiene, nutrition, infectious diseases like TB, HIV, and STIs, sexually transmitted infections yon. Also, non-communicable diseases that are medyo problematic ngayon. Of course, road safety, medyo bago, but we need to tackle them. And cancer prevention.
Interesting po that you mentioned road safety is also part of the programs po. Bakit po ba yung road safety naging issue in terms of
We
health?
want to prevent injuries that happen on the road dahil more and more we get cases of victims of road crashes. So we need to educate the public about how to be safe on the road.
So naging preventive na rin po yan. So when we talk about yung mga specific health challenges po or yung mga gaps na naging inspirasyon kung bakit kailangan yung programa nito, what are those challenges and gaps?
Right now, kasi we have increasing in the morbidity mortality rates. Matataas po for non-com, cancer, yung mga ganyan. Although also we have problems with infectious sa TB, tumataas siya kahit na ang tagal-tagal na natin itong nire-respondehan. Also the problem with HIV. Malabon is not exempted from increasing cases. Kaya kailangan po nating tutukan at dalhin sa mga community ang mga services that can respond to these needs. Also for health financing through YAKAP, PhilHealth's YAKAP program that gives access sa mga hindi pa miyembro ng PhilHealth.
Na-mention nyo po na yung TB, tumataas po yung mga kaso kahit matagal na ina-address. Are there any reasons specifically po kung na-identify po ninyo kung bakit tumataas yung numero ng mga kaso?
Yeah, kasi ang TB treatment takes a long time, 6 months minimum. Tapos they need to take so many drugs at one time. Kaya ang problema doon is usually patient compliance. Feeling nila, pagka nakainom na ng saglit, or maybe say 1 week, tapos nag-i-improve ang kanilang symptoms, feeling nila okay na yon, na hindi naman. Kasi we need to complete at least 6 months to make sure that the bacteria is gone. Ganun.
There are 8 particular focus areas that, if I'm not mistaken po, that PuroKalusugan is going to try to address. Could you run through the 8 focus areas po? And siguro kung ma-identify niyo po kung ano yung biggest challenges po ninyo in terms of addressing these certain focus areas.
Yeah. We begin with the National Immunization Program. This is providing vaccines for children in the priority group, usually yung 0 to 1 year old, para sa mga bakuna, sa mga sakit na pwedeng prevent sana ng bakuna. So yan ay measles, pertussis, actually primary complex, polio, diphtheria, yung mga yon. We bring it, lagi naman kami kasama din sa mga supplemental immunization activities, pero we have difficulty reaching target, which is 95%. Parang kukunti yata bata sa Malabon, parang ganon. But we're doing everything. Tapos maternal and child, sa mga buntis, prenatal, they need to come to us for prenatals and postpartum checkups. Medyo hindi rin ganun kataas pa ang aming rates para dyan, but we're doing everything. We have barangay health workers, barangay health education officers who go down sa community para maghikayat ng mga buntis, including adolescents, to come to the facilities for check-up. Kung hindi naman, we bring their, kahit nga vitamins, dinadala na for the, kaya may PuroKalusugan, dinadala na po sa mga bahay-bahay din nila yon ng mga health workers. There's also water, sanitation, and hygiene that's bringing clean, potable drinking water sa mga facilities, special and in the community, especially during disasters, prone po tayo, di po ba, dahil pagdating ng bagyo,
Yeah.
usually inaabot kami ng mga tubig sa mga kabahayan. So ang aming sanitation distributes chlorine tablets para po ang inuming tubig ay maging safe na maiinom nila. Also, the sanitation unit checks on the toilets to make sure that we have sanitary toilet facilities and hand washing
Yeah.
para sure na makokontrol ang bacteria.
Doc, if I'm not mistaken, the launch has reached over 500 residents. Alam ko, simula lang po ito. You're going to try to reach a lot more. Pero yung initial feedback and community response, how was that like considering na kayo mismo yung nag-reach out in terms of accessibility to all of these medical services?
Yes, actually, tuwan-tuwa po yung mga pamilyang pinuntahan when we launched it last Saturday, no? Direct sa mga bahay kasi nila. Yung isa was a stroke patient whom we brought some maintenance meds and vitamin support sa kanya. Natutuwa sila na even the mayor, even the regional director has gone to their homes as kami, we were in total support, bringing, health support para sa mga pamilyang ganyan. Impressed sila kasi, pati yung aming PhilHealth group, lumabas dun sa lugar na yon in nakabangka kami, para mag-distribute din ng mga yakap registration forms para maging makapasok po sila sa dating konsulta, now yakap program of the PhilHealth.
Ma'am, na-mention mo, kailangan pa kayo magbangka to reach certain areas. There are parts of Malabon na talaga mahirap i-access. How can you ensure that PuroKalusugan is able to reach those remote at mga underserved communities po?
Yeah, yung aming mga barangay health workers po and health promotion, education and promotion officers, sila po yung aming mga community-based na mga galamay, kumbaga. Sila yung mag-maintain ng communication and contact with these areas. Pero hindi naman, our medical personnel also go down kung kailangan. Dinala po namin din actually ang bakuna sa area na yan in Artex compound that week then, prior to launching nung Sabado.
Now, when we return, we'll hear from Ban Toxics' Jam Lorenzo on why a stronger global plastics treaty is crucial. Stay tuned. Weather HQ will be right back. Plastic pollution isn't just an environmental problem. It's also a public health and disaster risk, especially right here in the Philippines, where single-use plastics clog waterways and worsen flooding. Now, to understand why a stronger binding plastics treaty matters and what it means for our country, here's my interview with Jam Lorenzo, the Deputy Executive Director of Ban Toxics.
Ban Toxics, we are an environmental organization that focuses on chemicals and waste issues. So our main objectives are to contribute towards minimizing the impacts to human health and environment of chemicals and waste. So we work at the policies. We work on policies at the global and local levels, and also start communications and advocacy campaigns. And we also have a community development unit that works on the ground with our partner communities. Yes.
As of right now, there's a plastics treaty that's being talked about globally. Pero as of recent developments, medyo nagsistall siya. Why do you feel that it is being stalled? And of course, if it is rushed at the same time, wouldn't that necessarily mean a weaker agreement would be concluded rather than something that would be more sweeping?
Okay, so for those listening, Ban Toxics has been involved in the plastic treaty negotiations since even before the negotiations officially started with the intergovernmental negotiating committees. So the original treaty was supposed to be finished last year sa Busan, with INC 5. But then hindi rin siya natapos there, and we extended the talks to Geneva, which concluded just a few weeks ago. However, hindi pa rin natapos yung treaty text doon. But on our end, yes, of course, the negotiations have stalled, Pero on our end, we think that it's a good thing because in Geneva, ambitious countries did not accept weak text from the chair. no? So the thing is, this shows that countries are pushing for ambition. They are pushing for globally binding requirements. On our end, our stand has always been no treaty is better than a bad treaty, because no treaty continues pressure on polluting countries, no? However, a bad treaty with weak obligations is an excuse for countries to continue polluting. So on our end, we're trying to keep staying positive regarding the negotiations.
So what would strong obligations look like when it comes to yung plastics treaty? What do you feel needs to be done, or at least is achievable and realistic based on the talks that have happened recently?
Okay, a strong globally binding treaty should include mainly two things. Number one is a ban on production, especially of unnecessary plastics. And number two, banning chemicals that are toxic that are in plastics. No?
Well, you mentioned yung production aspect niya. When you take a look at reducing plastic production at the source, and of course, when you take a look at making sure that excluded yung mga chemicals, harmful toxins that are present in certain plastics nowadays. When you talk about yung realistic ambitions ng treaty na to, and of course the negotiations that you've heard of so far, how close or how far are we to reaching that point, now that you mentioned that certain countries are pushing for even stronger regulations in this treaty?
Yeah, so like we said earlier, ambitious countries, the majority of countries around the globe, are pushing for an ambitious treaty. It's only just maybe around 10 countries na hindi agree with the ambition. And we think this is very problematic, and we think this is a reflection ng kakulangan ng rules of procedure when discussing treaties. No? Kasi currently, what we're working on is a consensus approach, meaning we can't agree on anything unless everybody agrees on it. No? And this is problematic because, of course, plastic-producing countries will always push for low ambition. So, and plastics, as we all know, has a lot of problems related to it. Waste management efforts have failed historically, no? So every year we produce 460 million metric tons of plastics. And historically, ever since plastic came onto the scene, only 9% have been recycled, no? And plastics in itself is a problematic material. Plastics, 99% of it is derived from carbon, which comes from fossil fuels, no? So it drives climate change. Plastics is made up of more than 16,000 chemicals released by a study by Plastchem last year. So it inherently exposes us to a lot of health risks. And finally, it's not a circular material. No? Recycling plastics can shed microplastics. And as we all know, sa dami ng studies na lumabas in recent years, everyone has microplastics in our bodies. No? So a lot of countries are pushing for ambition to reduce the environmental and health impacts, but we need to push more.
Let's talk about the Philippines in particular, because the Philippines is notorious for being one of the bigger plastic pollutants, even if we are one of those countries being mostly affected by climate change in particular. Medyo nasa sachet economy pa rin tayo talking about the Philippines. When it comes to a systemic shift or a cultural shift even here in the Philippines, just how big is the task at hand, especially for your organization?
Oh yes. So just to clarify on the statement that that the Philippines is one of the biggest polluters, no. So this is also a misconception because the Philippines, like a lot of Southeast Asian countries, recipient tayo ng illegal na plastic waste. So that drives the plastic pollution in our country even higher than it should be. So and then going back to your sachet economy, that also helps drive plastic pollution in the country because it shows that waste infrastructure in the country can't really catch up, no? And it's disappointing because we've always had these solutions, no? We've always had these solutions not only in the Philippines but in Southeast Asia. Just a few examples, no? If you remember from decades ago, nung wala pa yung plastics, nung hindi pa ganun ka-prevalent yung plastics, we have all these solutions such as deposit systems, reuse and refill, and we see this in a lot of smaller areas in the country, and they help contribute towards reducing yung plastics na napoproduce natin. Yeah.
Well, of course, we're taking a look back locally as well. It already feels that we are experiencing the effects, rather, of we always talk about solid waste management, but then when we take a look at the waterways in particular, there is an enormous amount of plastic-based waste as well that we've seen clogging our waterways, and of course, plastic pollution is one of the bigger problems in general sa solid waste management dito sa Pilipinas. When you take a look at the recent flooding, the recent climate changes in terms of the amount of storms coming in, just how much more urgent is it in particular for our country to also address this problem locally?
Oh, it's very it's very urgent for us, no. So with regards to plastic and yung impacts niya on waste on flooding sa atin, no. The easiest response is it's a reflection of improper waste management, no. Sabi mo nga bumabara sa drainages, it ruins a lot of our infrastructure. Pero at the bigger looking at the bigger picture of it, no, hindi lang yan yung contribution ng plastics towards yung flooding natin. Kasi the refinement of plastics, for example, emits around 200 million metric tons of greenhouse gases, which contribute to climate change, which we have seen is reflected on the increasing number of cyclones, typhoons na na-encounter natin in the country. No, and yung landfilling ng single-use plastics, no, going back to the sachet economy na nabanggit mo kanina, yung landfills, they account for more than 15% of methane emissions. So all of these contribute towards increasing yung frequency ng storms sa atin, and yun nga, na-highlight lalo na yung infrastructure in the country can't catch up. So yun talaga yung main problem natin.
All right, so the final round of negotiations is expected in 2026, especially for this for any global changes when it comes to this plastic treaty. Just what can we do at the moment? Medyo, I know 2026 is only a few months away, pero syempre, we're also looking for immediate action. What calls are you making, especially from the government, LGUs, or even the local citizenry to address this plastic pollution problem that we have?
So okay, even though 2026 matatapos yung treaty, mag-enter into force lang din siya a few years after that. So medyo matagal pa, no? Medyo matagal pa yung bubunuin natin na time. So on our end, in the Philippines, nakita natin sa mga recent issues na lumabas, basically stop the corruption, no? Let's funnel our funds into waste management infrastructure that we desperately need. And let's change our perspectives regarding waste management, kasi the thing is, a lot of local government units, a lot of national government agencies, when we talk about waste control, we are just looking at existing waste and how to manage them, no? But we should change our perspectives. When we talk about waste management, it should be about preventing and reducing the waste that we produce, no? And when we talk about preventing and reducing the waste that we produce, for example, titignan natin yung mga single-use plastics. If we can easily replace them with reusable and more sustainable materials, ang laki kagad ng reduction ng waste na yon. For example, one hospital, not in the Philippines, no, but in another country, established a reuse system for water, a refill system for water in their hospital. This immediately led to the reduction of around 4,000 water bottles in 6 months for their hospital. So these little actions na pwede nating implement in the country can prevent and reduce the waste that we generate in the first place. And of course, we should always follow the environmentally sound management standards na binibigay sa atin ng mga global standards, no?
When we return on Weather HQ, I'll share my conversation with the Agriculture Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa about the NFA's upcoming auction of 60,000 metric tons of aging rice. Stay with us. Weather HQ will be right back. Welcome back. You're still watching Weather HQ. The National Food Authority is set to auction off 60,000 metric tons of aging rice stocks this September. Now, to tell us more, here's my interview with Agriculture Assistant Secretary Arnel de Mesa.
Aging rice means ito yung mga 3 months as per definition ng Republic Act 078. ito yung mga bigas na 3 months or older ay pwede nang ilabas for disposition ng National Food Authority. So the main reason, you're correct, una, to free up yung spaces ng mga warehouses ng ating National Food Authority kasi we know nag-start ng August until October, yun yung peak season ng harvest. For the main crop natin, we're expecting more than 11 million metric tons of palay na ma-harvest natin ngayon. And about 5 to 10% yan baka kayang i-absorb ng National Food Authority. So with that amount na ma-harvest, so we really need to free up space. And at the same time, yung mga aging stocks talaga ng NFA, may labas din.
Sir, si Agriculture Secretary Francisco Chu Laurel Jr. did issue a statement na handa na siya sa mga criticism when it comes to the auctioning of these aging rice. The questions are expected, rather, are going to be about yung quality po ng rice. That they might be weevil infested, that they might be of poor quality. And now, inunahan na niya po. But then when we talk about these concerns, what more can you add to that po?
If you look at the, Paolo, doon sa buong 60,000 metric tons, that's about 1.2 million bags. At about 50% niyan, ang age niyan is more than 3 months but less than 6 months. Kukonti lang yung mga 19,000 bags yung more than 18 months old. So, depende yan. And ito naman mga stocks na to, yan talaga, hindi naman yan ibebenta, i-auction kung hindi okay yung quality. But of course, due to age ng stocks, siyempre makikita natin yung iba dyan, nag-deteriorate as time goes by. So, yun yung mga ilang issues. Pero yun din yung main reason bakit i-auction yan, para mabawasan o maiwasan yung patuloy na deterioration ng ilang bigas natin.
Na-mention niyo po, relief agencies will be given priority. How much of these stocks are expected to actually be released to the relief agencies?
Depende kung gaano karami yung gusto nilang bilhin, of course. That's why it's being offered first to them. Not unlike before kasi na basta lang ibinebenta without auction kung sino may gusto. Ngayon, priority talaga is yung relief agencies. Kasi nung una nga, maraming binibili ng DSWD pero sabi dati walang maibenta. So ngayon, priority talaga sila, pati mga lokal na pamahalan if they want to buy from this 60,000 metric tons. And then yung matira doon, yun yung papasok natin for auction.
ASEC, the graduated pricing scheme that will be adopted will range from 27.96 pesos down to 25.01 pesos per kilo, if I'm not mistaken, depending on yung storage age of the rice. Is this correct po? And how will this system actually work?
Yes, that's correct, Paolo. Meron kasing tinatawag na minimum auction price. This is computed based on landed cost, halimbawa ng imported, lumalabas na 29.43. So ito yung for comparison and for computation lang. And then they came up with a reduction rate. Depende kung ano nga yung age ng stocks. So kung ang age na is more than 3 months but less than 6 months, the reduction rate is 5% from 29.43. Kaya yung pinakamahal na minimum auction price will be 27 pesos and 96 centavos for more than 3 months but less than 6 months. Yun naman pinakamura, yung more than 18 months, yung age ng stocks, yung reduction rate will be 15%. So, kung ibabawas mo yun sa 29.43, lalabas is 25 pesos and 2 centavos. That's how the computation came about.
ASEC, 60,000 metric tons represents about 13% of the NFA's buffer stock. When we take a look at the actual rice buffer supply, yung 12-day particularly, rice buffer supply, how will this actually affect yung supply po natin?
Yes, that's correct. 60,000 metric tons is 13% of 450,000 metric tons. Hindi naman siya makapekto dahil right now, gusto nga natin mailabas mas marami kasi gusto natin makapamili na mas maraming palay sa ating mga magsasaka now that the harvest season for the wet season or main crop natin is ongoing. So, ongoing din. If you look at 13%, 60,000. So, marami pa rin yung pwede natin na ibenta doon sa ating mga programa ngayon for both the 20 pesos at saka yung sa Rice for All natin. So, we have actually big stocks pa. The main reason really is to dispose of this either through Kadiwa or through this auction. So, there's no concern on availability of stocks for other purposes.
As Secretary Chu Laurel did mention that this move in particular is in line with President Marcos's directive na isuspend yung rice imports natin for 2 months, I believe starting September 1. When we talk about yung auction na to and complementing that policy in particular, paano to in line po?
In line siya doon sa fact na we want to increase yung presyo ng farm gate. Kasi the main intent noong suspension, aside from the fact na ang dami talagang pumasok na imported na bigas at bumagsak sobra yung presyo ng farm gate, lalo na palapit yung anihan. So kung ganito na maglalabas ka sa auction, yung 13% plus patuloy yung sa kadiwa mo and other purposes, so ibig sabihin mas marami kang maibebenta o mabibili, mapoprocure na palay sa ating mga magsasaka. So yun yung pinaka-intent natin. At eventually nga, we're hoping that the Congress and the Senate will pass yung bill that will amend the rice tariffication law on 2 aspects or fronts ng NFA mandates. One is on regulation, the other one is on sa trade or sa market intervention niya, wherein NFA can now easily sell yung stocks niya sa mga NFA accredited retailers, sa mga palengke. So in this case, hindi na natin kakailanganin pa itong makikiusap tayo sa LGU, sa ibang agencies for them to buy yung stocks natin. So yung pagbili and paglabas ng stocks will be now much easier. At the end, NFA can buy more palay sa ating mga magsasaka at price na maganda para sa ating farmers. Kasi ngayon nasa 23, 24 pesos yung bili ni NFA compared to say 15, 16 pesos sa mga traders.
Asek, I want to talk about the fact that yung auction na to might actually become a regular activity ng NFA, especially there have been indications that this might be the case. But we also have to go back to the fact that there was a previous plan to auction mga palay naman po. But then this was also scrapped due to low market prices. When we talk about yung auctioning process po ng NFA, what key lessons are we deriving from yung mga past experience po ninyo, and how can they be even improved as time goes by if this becomes a regular occurrence po?
Malaki na yung pagbabago, Paolo. Remember before yung naging problema ni NFA na kung saan hindi muna niya inaalok sa mga government relief agencies. Directly niya binebenta, sometimes without auction. At yun nga, masyado mababa, lugi si NFA. So right now, we're correcting all those past mistakes to ensure na mauna, na makinabang yung mga government relief agencies. At pangalawa, mailabas siya sa proseso na very transparent, at the same time kikita pa rin yung NFA based on the age ng stocks natin. So we're gonna be improving, of course, our processes and mechanics as we go along sa proseso na to, and we welcome all suggestions and recommendations for us to further improve pa.
And that's a wrap for this week's episode of Weather HQ. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Paolo del Rosario. We'll see you again next week, right here on BNC, the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Have a great weekend.